thinking. That, I think, lends itself to saint worship. It's what leads to hero worship in America.
Well, I guess to be a bit rude to Augustine, I'm somewhat crudely implying that there's a line of thinking in this passage that is very close to death worship. That there's a sort of odd.
Well, obviously, this. If I was the Roman Catholic Church and I was trying to push towards the sacredness of relics, I would point to this. Augustine is not perfect, and his experience isn't perfect, and we can't divorce him from a somewhat imperfect culture and context.
But it's interesting because the reason I like this passage so much is that there's this moment where the sort of oddity of the belief, this idea that there is an importance in the bones of a dead person, essentially the corpse of someone, in which Augustine sort of lays bare at this one odd moment the strangeness of the belief, which is that there is something special about death, not about the coming back to life, but specifically about the thing you leave behind.
I understand, but there's some little clues in here that make me think, this has been gilded, so to speak, the account. For instance, what does the blind man say? Please take my...
He says... I think he just asked to be taken to it.
And he says specifically, according to the quote you read, he asked to have his handkerchief. Isn't that what the word?
Oh, yes, it was handkerchief.
Yeah, now that is a significant word, because in John chapter 20, it was John chapter... Oh, yes, no, it was Acts 19. In Acts 19, the Bible says that God worked a lot of unusual miracles through the hands of Paul. So that... And here's that word, handkerchiefs or aprons were brought from his body, that is from Paul's body, to the sick, and the diseases left them and the evil spirits went out of them. So what you've done now is you've subtly alluded to God's working, apostolic working in Paul.
That's so interesting. I would have never occurred to me to bring that illusion, but he definitely did gild the lily here.
Yes, I think your lily is gilded.
That's so specific.
Well, it is, and the idea of the blind's eyes being opened. I mean, it's clearly this isn't just some guy with prostate trouble. This is some guy with blindness who needs to be led to, even as people were led to the Lord. Who is that? Oh, it's the Lord.
It's very awkward if we say Augustine lied in his account of what happened after he agreed not to lie anymore.
Yeah, it would be. Though he was so prolific after salvation, it's very hard for me to imagine he didn't make a boo-boo or two along the way. That said, though, I'm not sure we have to go so far as to say he is lying, because he's reporting something, and his reportage may be accurate or not accurate without being a lie. The other thing I'd be very curious to understand, and I'll never probably be able to understand, how Augustine was able to separate out those superstitions of culture that we inevitably imbibe of from his faith in the truth of the Scriptures, and to what extent he was successful in doing so.
I was just going to say, I don't think he's very successful.
Well, I don't know. But that, unfortunately, has brought us to another end of another episode of, I'm Chris.
I'm Elam.
And this has been Infobores. Join us next week when we say...
This is a show in which there is information. We love information. Information is an information of information. I think information is interesting insofar as it is information and not another thing which is not information. I love information for all its varieties and kinds. I saw green information once and it interested me. I saw blue information once and it did not interest me, but still interested me.
Okay, yes, so Elam has now showed us what it means to be bored by information. Have a great day.
Information.
Oh, totus floreo, jam amore virginali totus arleo, novus amores copereo, novus amores copereo.
About information.
Thanks, Elam.